Just keep this really simple and humble, just like our speaker, and turn it over to Alex.
I'm recovering addict. My name's Alex. Can everybody hear me in the back? I gotta say right off the beginning, I'm a blessed and highly favored recovering addict, and but I suffer from attention deficit disorder, and if I skip around and people don't understand me, I am sorry. You know, I hope those newcomers that stood up for 3 days, 4 days, 5 days are still sitting here. You know,
Hi, Alex.
Hi.
He's here, bro.
You know, my clean day is January 25th, 1991. My story, I'm going to share I was told by Martin when I got clean, my experience, strength, and hope is what I did to get here, what I did to stay here, and the fact that I know that every addict here can stay clean. Simple, short, and sweet. You know, and I was told that it didn't matter what I did, how much I did, you guys didn't give a shit. All you cared was what I wanted to do my problem and how you could help. You know, it doesn't matter what drug I did, how long I did it, where I did it, who I did it with. You know, it mattered what I wanted to do about that problem and how you could help. You know, because the truth is, in Narcotics Anonymous, we're not dealing with a disease of, you know, about drugs. It's why we did those drugs, and I'm about to tell you that. You know, I was born in 1969, and 4 years later, my sister was boiled to death in a tub of hot water by a babysitter. And when I share my story, it's not because it doesn't really matter to me today. It's a matter to the newcomer to hopefully that you identify with something, the emotions, the feelings, the sorrow, the pain, the hurt, the rejection. You know, because that's what we deal with in Narcotics Anonymous. We don't deal with the fact that we did drugs. We deal with the fact of why we did them. The low self-esteem. It don't matter what we did, where we did, and how we did it. You know, my family left me at the age of 4 with a mother with mental illness. You know, I grew up on the bar stool with my mother in elementary school. She was my drinking buddy. You know, my whole family left me and my brother with a psychotic mother. You know, and that's the only way I could put it. You know, I grew up in a neighborhood where because of the color of my skin, I got my butt kicked every day. That's just my story. You know, and I say this a lot. You know, if I offend somebody, I'm sorry, call your sponsor. My story is my story. And if I start sounding like an a-hole, I'm sorry. I'm really passionate about this program. Like before recovery, I had no life. You know, I'm going to go briefly over my before recovery. I used. By 6th grade, I was a full-blown addict. 16 years old, I moved out of my house. I learned how to do construction. I learned how to play in bands. I learned how to deal, cheat, everything. You know, I sold my body, mind, and soul to get drugs. I lived to use and used to live. You know, some of us come in here and we're functioning and we have life. That was not my story. You know, I did construction so I can get high at a young age, and that's the only reason why I did it, to make a living and get high. You know, I played in bands so I can get high. At a point in my life, I had to sell my ass to get high. You know, and for the newcomer, I'm not sugarcoating over stuff. I want you to know I had no morals or values. My moral compass did not come included when I was born, or soon thereafter. You know, like I grew up angry, resentful, lonely. You know, as a kid, I tried to kill myself. You know, one time I tried to hang myself, and the stairs broke that I hung myself from. You know, I tried to electrocute myself. I tried to take pills. You know, by the grace of God, there was a voice in my head that said there's a better way. You know, and I didn't know what that voice was. You know, I wanted to die. You know, people on the streets didn't like me because of what I looked like, and people at home didn't give a shit about me. You know, when I came into the room with Narcotics Anonymous, I was a true racist. If you didn't have drugs, if you lived to use and used to live, I didn't care about you. You know, I hated everybody. Nobody cared about me. Why did I give a shit about you? You know, my whole active addiction was about doing crimes. Was about destroying, you know, like my original sponsor, my best friend, one time asked me, what were you, an anarchist? I was like, oh, yeah. You know, I thought every drug addict, you know, that was our mission. You know, I used, you know. Can't hear? Sorry. I hate mics and I hate talking out loud. And 23 years later, and like I still really, something inside me says my story doesn't matter. You know, but if I see a lot of people get up, and I give you credit, because when I was like 5 days clean, I was in a glass cell in New York State Correctional Facility under observation. You know, I couldn't sit here. God bless you. You know, like I used. And I got here January 25th, 1991. You know, 10 o'clock in the morning, I was rescued by the police department in Saratoga County. They opened the door, I opened the door, I put my hands out, and I said, take me. You know, I went to jail, I went to a rehab, I went to a halfway house, and I heard the message of Narcotics Anonymous. You notice I'm not going to talk about my active addiction, because it really doesn't matter. You know, the truth is, after 23 years, my story before recovery bores me. Your story bores me. Recovery excites me. You know, I've had 23 years of recovery, and it's been an amazing, long, strange trip. You know, there's people in this room that were, amazingly enough, in my first Narcotics Anonymous meeting. You know, and like I went to jail, I went to rehab, and in that rehab, I got a basic text, and I read it. You know, somebody let me borrow it. You know, they didn't have a lot of basic text in the rehab. You know, and I read it, and I cried. You know, and I wasn't a good reader, but I read our basic text, and I cried. You know, all those readings made me cry. They were my story. You know, I was alone. You know, I had no family, had no friends, had no loved ones, and my true love, the drugs, were gone. You know, I intentionally got arrested to get clean. That's my story. I didn't know about rehabs. I didn't know you could just walk into any detox and go, or any hospital and say, I want to get clean. I didn't know. Ignorance. You know, I don't know. It's really hard to share, like, in front of this many people, I'll be honest. You know, I'm a hard ass when it comes to recovery. You know, I went through all those facilities, but the most important thing I learned about Narcotics Anonymous. You know, 6 months clean, or 30 days clean, I was chairing meetings. You know, and 6 months clean, I was doing H&I. You know, I had 6 months clean, somebody turns around and goes, you're doing Green Correctional Facility tomorrow night. I said, okay. Next week, Kasaki Correctional Facility. You know, and if you're just coming around, this program is about doing service. We don't just come here, sit on our ass, recover, and stay clean. You know, for the newcomer, we're going to give you a little break. You're going to sit here, you're going to relax, people are going to, you know, clap for you and hug you, but eventually it's about starting some work.
Yeah.
You know, we work to use, you know, for me it was a job. It was my living. You know, for 18 years I did H&I, and I'll still do it if people call me. You know, past 5 years I've been doing public relations. You know, for me it's about, this fellowship's about service. You know, I came in here and I had nothing. You know, I grew up on welfare with a single mother, and I had nothing. You know, my bottom wasn't one of I lost everything, because that didn't matter to me. My bottom was one that those demons that I talked about when I was a kid that I wanted to kill myself creeped back. Because when I found drugs, I thought like that was the better way. And it was. Because the truth is, I thank God for drugs. Because drugs saved my life. Because they numbed me. I found out the more drugs I did, the less I wanted to kill myself. The less I wanted to hang myself. The less I wanted to electrocute myself. The less I wanted to, like, die. You know? I found out that drugs, like, numb that. And at a young age, 21, that didn't work no more. You know, I got clean when I was 21. You know, I seen it all. I did everything like, my drug of choice was more.
Yep.
You know, I can identify with any addict, anything you want to do, because I did it. But mostly I identify with the pain. You know, identify with the fact that, like, when you're high and you can't stop crying and you want to die once again. You know, I identify with the fact that, like, I'd do anything to get another drug, to get something to numb me. You know, in recovery, like, I learned a couple things in early recovery that were told to me right off the bat, and those are the things I live by. I was told no matter what, you don't pick up. I was told there was no reason to get high again. I was told my story is relapse was not a requirement. You know, we relapsed, but like for me, that's not part of my story yet. You know, my sponsor, my best friend, told me there's no reason. Ignorance is no longer an excuse. You fuck up, it's on you. I'll love you when you come back, but I won't, you know, justify your shit. You know, like I grew up in this program, like people took me in and they loved me and they nourished me and they held me and they taught me. They taught me how to do service, they taught me how to get up, they taught me how to cook, they taught me what the difference between a juicer and a blender was. You know, they taught me how to use a stove properly, not for freebase, you know, for cooking shit up. You know, they told me I didn't wash my clothes in a dishwasher. You know, they told me I didn't have to sell myself short. You know, I got clean at a time in a place where, like, there was very little Narcotics Anonymous, and I trekked my ass from one end of Albany to another to go to a Narcotics Anonymous meeting. You know, people in other places told me I wasn't ready. I was too young. I was too angry. You know, when I got clean, I was an angry, miserable, hateful person. You know, the truth was I was just in hurt and pain and lonely. You know, I chose Narcotics Anonymous chose me real early in my recovery. You know, I was made to go to other places, and I came to Narcotics Anonymous and I was welcome. You know, and sometimes I might sound arrogant or self-righteous or hard-ass, you know, but it's just because I love this program, this fellowship. You know, like when I got clean, me and Martin, you know, like we had like one meeting a night, some nights two. You know, I take 3 buses to get to one meeting, pray to God on the way there that Martin would give me a ride back. You know, if I didn't piss him off tonight, but he couldn't piss him off. You know, I called him. You know, like I got clean at a time where like we had to do service because there was nobody else to do it. You know, I got clean at a time where like you had 2.5 years, you were an old timer. Like my original sponsor, I don't know if Sean's in here, but like 2.5 years, he was RCM, running area, knew the Robert's Rules of Orders, traditions back and forward. He's forgetting some of them now. You know, but I stayed clean, and I'm grateful. I'm grateful for certain addicts that love me until I can love myself. You know, like I wanted to die, like seriously die the first 1.5 years of my recovery. I didn't want to use drugs. Like the desire to use drugs was lifted from me as soon as I got clean. But the desire to off myself and end my life and get out of the misery of my self-obsession did not lift. You know, I came into rooms, a high school dropout. I could barely read. I had no prospects in life. I had to leave anything I knew in life behind. And due to this process of recovery, you know, and it's not about the stuff. I got a GED after like 2-3 times taking it. I got a legal driver's license with my name on it. You know, I got keys to put on the key tags that you guys gave me. You know, I got a associate's degree. Then I got a bachelor's. Then I couldn't find a job. Like no matter what, we don't use. You know, like in early recovery, I had a lot of friends die on me. You know, in the early 90s, a lot of addicts were like here one day, gone tomorrow. Without even using. They were just dying because of the virus, because of things. You know, we didn't use. You know, like I said, like I went to college in recovery. You know, that's an amazing shit. Like, for the newcomer, it's just about not using, but it's about getting a new way to live. You know, and if you're new here, like, our message is hope and the promise is freedom. You know, we don't believe in statistics. We believe that any addict can stop using, lose the desire to use, and find a new way to live. You know, you'll hear people say, like, well, stop using, you know, that new way to live is what we're talking about. You know, abstinence is just the beginning, it says in our literature. We stop using. We get a sponsor. You know, in early recovery, I got a sponsor. I started working steps. When I started working steps, I started feeling better about myself. I started realizing that, like, it wasn't about the drugs I used, it's about why I used them. You know, I'm not a drug addict, I'm an addict. You know, I learned that doing service was about helping others. I learned that the core of our disease is self-centeredness, and the only way to get out of self-centeredness is by doing service regularly. You know, I was told I got to do service every day of my life. Help somebody every day of my life. I used and destroyed people's lives in my own life every day of my life. You know, I don't know, like, I've gone through some shit in recovery. You know, like I said, I went to college. I got out of college, I had a 3.8 GPA from a great school. Could not find a job to save my life, was delivering pizza. I wanted to fucking die. You know, that's a humbling job. You know, I didn't use. You know, I've gone through parts of my recovery where everybody in my life seemed to have left me. You don't use. You know, I truly believe in that no matter what factor. You know, for me, no matter what is a spiritual principle. There's a lot of spiritual principles in those words. Tenacity, endurance, commitment. You know, we always say honesty, open-mindedness, and willingness are spiritual principles. You know, there's a lot of them in our books. You know, no matter what, we don't use. You know, if you're just coming around, you got a basic text tonight, go home and start reading it. Put paper to the pen and start underlining it. And yes, I'm telling people what to do. Like that's how we work this program. We're told, when I got clean, I was told what to do. You know, nobody said, oh, well, if you want, you can work this. No, you're working this step. You're working the steps. You're doing service. You know, I think that's the problem nowadays, is people aren't told you have to do this. You know, if you're coming to Narcotics Anonymous, welcome. It's a 12-step program. We work steps. If you're not working the steps, you're working the problem. You know, if you're not doing service, you know, for me, if I'm not doing service, I'm stealing from this program. I'm sorry. You know, I may never be ever allowed back in Vermont again. Like, I'm a hard ass when it comes, I go to one program, I have one fellowship, I work one set of steps, I have one sponsor. You know, there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You know, we don't compromise on this. In the beginnings of our traditions, it says these are not negotiable. You know, I believe in the NA way. There's like 300 other fellowships. If this doesn't work for you, fine. They will. Keep coming back. You know, recently I've been intolerant of people thinking they can like work their program. Like, we have a program. It's tried, true, and tested for 61 years. You know? I'm grateful that when I came in, I was humble enough or dumb enough or, you know, that like I didn't question what people told me to do. Like, I was beat up. You know, I believe in the gift of desperation. You know, for me, the word God means gift of desperation. Like, I wanted to die. You know, today, like, I don't want to die. Like, I got a life beyond my wildest freaking dreams. You know, it's been like 20 months since I've had the desire, you know, and I got 23 years. It's been 20 months since I've had the desire to kill myself. It took a long time for that. That was the last thing. You know, because with 20-some years clean, I still want to die. You know, because, yeah, it's about the newcomer, but it's about the person with time, too. You know, because it gets rough. For the newcomer, this shit gets rough. Life gets rough. Life on life's terms ain't easy. Nothing out there changes. You know, I'm grateful when I got clean, they didn't blow smoke up my ass and tell me everything was going to be fine and dandy. They told me shit was going to hit the fan, put your seatbelt on, and hold on. You know, the only thing that changes is us. This. You know, I go to a lot of NA, I go to like 30 NA events a year, and this shit's amazing. Like, this thing has been going on for 30 years. You know, back in the early 80s, there was like probably 30,000 recovering addicts in the whole United States of America. You know, and the dude stands up for 35 years, 30 years. Like, I'm honored. I'm privileged. You know, lately, the past couple of years, going to a lot of NA events, I search out people, my predecessors, people, I hate that word, people that came before me. You know, people that could teach me something, people that been through something different than me, people that have experience that I don't have. I still, with some time, search out people that like can teach me. You know, I try to remain teachable. You know, I don't know everything. The moment I do, I'm in trouble. You know, like I said, like it's been. I'm gonna keep it brief because the whole thing went on way too long. You know, I'm amazed anybody's still sitting here. When I seen half of the room leave after clean time, I was kind of happy. You know, I was gonna like move forward. Let's have an intimate, like quiet little thing. You know, like I normally like avoid speaking anywhere unless it's small and intimate. And like they asked me, and I was like, I've been coming to Back to Basics for like 22 years. Like, the first year I was here, like, I had $5 to give the registration, and I walked into the kitchen and said, how can I help? You know, and it was, I figured a couple hours, that'd be worth the time, you know, and like, I met this guy in the back with white hair, and like, once again, like I said, do whatever he said. Peel the carrots, and like the day went by, and like I was ready for the dance. You know, I want to share about Back to Basics for a couple minutes, because like, just like this fellowship, I grew up here. Like I said, I came in at 21, crazy as hell, not ready to stop having fun, You know, somebody said the other day, I latched onto the part of our literature that says live and enjoy life without the use of drugs. You know, because I went to other fellowships where they were fucking miserable. No offense, that's okay. You know, and I came here and you people were laughing, smiling. I remember the first NA meeting I went to, everybody was laughing and smiling. It was in the rehab. I was wearing like, you know, the rehab slippers and I walk in, I'm like, oh, fudge and other. And I walk in and all these people, they look like addicts, but their eyes weren't bloodshot and they were smiling. And that's when I said I wanted what they had to offer. You know, and for years, like growing up in this camp out right here made my year. I lived all year for back to basics. You know, I remember coming up on a Wednesday, camping out down the street, coming here Thursday, camping out, like streaking half naked, going skinny dipping, you know. My fiance knows about a lot of stuff. You know. Like, a friend of ours, John Mulligan, and he always said his last name so I can say it. You know, we hung tight the past 4 or 5 years before he died, and like, I've done some amazing changes out here, you know, and like, he didn't realize he knew me since I was like 22 years old. You know, he's like, you crazy motherfucker. You know, because this is where we come to have fun. You know, as addicts, we like to have fun. You know, it's some serious shit. We're here to save our lives, but eventually we got to have fun. Because if we're not having fun, enjoying life, what's the purpose? You know, I didn't get clean to come miserable. You know, I didn't get clean to live a drum day-to-day life. You know, like today I have a family, I have a fiance, I have a son, I have friends. You know, today I have a sponsor. Today I have people in my life that I love. You know, today I have co-sponsees that I love, sponsees that I love. You know, like my fiance's sponsees are like mine. You know, today I have, you know, it's funny, I came in at 21 and I was a kid, and even though they didn't treat me like a kid, they treated me like an equal. They kind of, looking back at it, took care of me. You know, and I had a mother in recovery that nourished me, and a father, you know, and, because I had no family. You know, and now today, like I got, you know, like I was going to come up on Thursday, but my daughter, recovery daughter, was celebrating 5 years. You know, so I was going to come up, drive back, come on. I said, no. You know, got a PR meeting, you know, but that's the joy. It's like I got people in my life. This girl with 5 years calls me Papa. This woman over here calls me her fiance. You know, like if you're just coming around, that's what it's about. You know, we recover mentally, physically, and spiritually. Like mentally, I don't want to kill myself today. Mentally, I'm able to look at you in the eyes with honesty and integrity. You know, mentally, I feel equal, not greater or less than any person in here. You know, physically, like, I'm not jonesing for a fix. You know, I'm not contemplating, like, where I'm going to get the next one. You know, and spiritually, like, I'm in the moment. Like, I believe in sanity. You know, we say just for today. You know, spiritually, like, I'm right here, right now. Like, for me, like, somebody said 100 some years ago, this is sanity, right here. There's a second, right here. You know, because if I'm living in the past, I'm living in resentment, just like our basic text says. And if I'm living in the future, I'm living in fear. You know, like this moment right here is what I cherish. You know, I'm not thinking about what I got to do tomorrow. And I'm not thinking about the resentments of yesterday. You know, and I'm not thinking about the shit that happened before I got clean. Or the shit that happened 10 years ago. You know, and I'm no longer thinking about what I had to share tonight. I'll be honest, like listen, If you're just coming around, I'm bipolar as all hell. Ask anybody. You know, I've spent 23 years in recovery without medication. I'm going through some crazy stages, right, Kelly? I'm not a doctor. I don't suggest shit, but I'm complete abstinence from all drugs. Just for me. Like I'm not using today, I'm not using tomorrow. I didn't hopefully didn't harm nobody here today. Hopefully didn't verbally, offend nobody today. I pray I didn't. I don't know. I love life. I love this program, and I'm grateful that there's some newcomers here. But I get kind of disappointed. I'll be honest. When we get down to 30 days of the clean time, and there's not more newcomers. Shove them in your trunk or something. If you've been around for a while, I don't know about you, but they don't have to choose to come. You can just grab them and take them. In some states, it's not considered kidnapping. Like I had a friend that died 12 years ago, and his birthday was on my clean date, and he was twice my age, and it was my 22nd birthday, and we were driving through the park, and we saw this guy that we saw the night before at a meeting. And we're like, hey, get in the car. He's like, nah. I'm like, what are you doing? I'm waiting. What are you waiting for? I'm waiting for the meeting. I'm like, it's 6 hours away. Like, get in the car. He's like, nah, I'm like, get the fuck in the car. And we did that a lot back then. And he stayed clean for 9 years.
Yeah.
Until we put him in the casket and put a 9-year coin on him. Because that was before they made the infinity coins. So the newcomer doesn't have, get the fuck over here. You got an extra seat, got an extra room in the, whatever. Because this is how we stay clean. Like Chino's like, this is how we do it. Because when you leave here and you go to a meeting and everything's serious, and you go to work and everything's serious, that's life. This is what we live for. I live to see people come around. It says in our basic text, or somewhere in our literature, it talks about watching the newcomer. And just for today, we see them come in with their heads down. Little by little, they pick their head up, get eye contact, open their mouth. A month later, we start sharing. A couple months later, we can't get them to shut up. A couple months later, they're asking you if they can be your sponsor. I'm gonna wrap up with this. If you want to stay clean, don't lose the desire. 23 years later, I still got the desire to see a newcomer come in and stay clean. I still got the desire to go to a meeting and hear somebody share how they got over the struggle. I still got the desire to learn a little more. Stuttering starting to kick in. Learn a little more about life, about recovery. I still got the desire to do something to make somebody smile. I still got the desire to do service work. This shit never ends. We don't graduate. Somebody said something to me, I said, no, some kid said something to me today, I said, no, we don't have a final coin if you get that infinity one that's put on your casket. There's no graduation from this shit. I've heard people with 30, 35 years stop coming to meetings, stop working the steps, stop talking to their sponsor, join the country club. I was that addict with 18 years, sitting in church, going to meetings every day, doing service, contemplating hanging myself from a cross when everybody left. And I'll say that. The past 4 or 5 years, like I said, I lost the desire to kill myself. And I thought it was just an amazing thing because I was driving down the street and I heard that voice that said, your life is good. You better start walking with gratitude. You better start smiling. And from that day on, I lost the desire. But the truth was, somebody pointed out to me before that, I made some changes. I flushed everything and everyone in my life that was not bringing spiritual peace out. Friends, sponsees, fiancés, business associates, out. You know, I started like addressing how I was feeling. You know, because for many years I'd say, oh, I'm just depressed. No, why the fuck am I depressed? Because it didn't go my way, because something hurt my feelings, because somebody wasn't happy. You know, I started like taking moments of time just for my family, just for myself. I started like ending, you know, because I work for myself. I run 2 businesses, and I work 24/7. I started like stopping work at a certain hour, coming home, sitting back, relaxing, enjoying a good meal that my woman cooked. You know, thanking her for it. You know, communicating. You know, in the past couple of years, I've learned how to communicate on an intimate level in a relationship. You know, this shit takes a long time. You know, like when I share about the deep, dark issues like that childhood shit, the only time it matters today is for the newcomer and for the fact that some of that shit still creeps in, and I realize it affected me. You know, because my communication skills when I came in was not good. You know, I learned how to communicate by doing service and by working at traditions. You know, I learned how to communicate by talking to people. You know, because like when I was a kid, my communication skills was like throwing knives, punching people. You know, I grew up in a household where if I didn't fill the coffee up, my mother would throw a knife at me. You know, that was communication. You know, I don't live that way today. You know, if you're just coming around, I love you, we love you, we're not full of shit. Keep coming back. You know, my sponsor told me when I got clean, if you do great things in life, I'll be the first person to stand up and applaud you. If you fuck up, it's on you. You know, and I'm a recovering addict. My name's Alex. Thank you for allowing me to.
I'm going to circle up.